So I am honored to introduce Brian Ettling, who first attended a climate reality training in San Francisco, California in August of 2012, and has served as a member for 8 in-person climate reality trainings, 2013 to 2019, and the online climate reality training in 2020. He's been a breakout speaker for 3 trainings and has served as the Portland Climate Reality interim chair in 2019. He was also a seasonal park ranger at Crater Lake National Park, Oregon and Everglades National Park, Florida, for 25 years. As a park ranger, climate reality leader, Toastmaster, Citizens Climate Lobby volunteer, and wannabe comedian, he gave over 300 climate change talks from 2011 to 2020 in 12 US states, Washington, D.C., and Ottawa, Canada. He is literally a coast-to-coast climate speaker, speaking from Newport, Oregon to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, as well as Tampa, Florida. His proudest moment was appearing on the national TV Comedy Central Tosh.o as the climate change comedian to an audience of millions to promote having fun while taking climate action. Brian's talk today is called 3 Lessons I Learned as a Climate Reality Leader. Take it away, Brian.
Oh, thank you for that wonderful introduction there, Helena. Let me make sure I do a quick, can everyone see my screen? There, let me see if I can't minimize this.
Yep.
Do a full screen here. Let's see. And can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, so here's my talk. I'm going to try to quickly go over in less than 10 minutes, 3 lessons I've learned as a climate reality leader. So as Helena just mentioned, I was a seasonal park ranger, primarily at Crater Lake National Park for 25 years from 1992 to 2017. I loved working there, and I gave ranger talks. That was my most recent job there from 2006 to 2017. So I narrated the boat tours, the trolley tours, gave a lodge talk, evening campfire program, just a wide variety of programs in the park and interacting with the park visitors. But unfortunately, I did see climate change while working in the national park. Crater Lake gets some of the deepest snow in the United States, up to 500 inches. So 2012 is kind of an average or above average year, and 2015 is when we didn't have that much snow. And I saw that year, I saw it more frequently, these years we didn't have that much snow. 2015, I know, was actually our lowest snow on record. We had like less than 200 inches of snow. And that same year, we had a really bad fire season. So I noticed that the snowpack was going down in my 25 years there, and the fire season and the smoke was getting worse. So as I got more concerned about climate change, I started in 2011 giving my evening campfire talks on climate change at Crater Lake and in the national parks. And that program is on YouTube. If you search for me on YouTube, Brian Ettling, Crater Lake. And in 2012, as we mentioned, I was trained by Al Gore in San Francisco as a climate reality leader. And since then, as a Toastmaster, climate reality leader, and various functions, I've given climate change talks literally from the coast of Oregon to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and also down to Tampa, Florida. So I'm kind of a coast to coast to coast speaker. I've given talks throughout Oregon and throughout my home state of Missouri. So just kind of all over the place. And I was really proud to be the interim chapter chair for the second half of 2019 and just a bit into 2020. And thankfully, Amy took over, Amy Hall, in 2020 during the pandemic. So I'm going to share my 3 lessons I've learned here tonight. And the number one is I really encourage folks just to find some way to have fun being a climate reality leader. Don't take yourself too seriously. And I know saying that we're going through very heavy times right now with all the fires in Los Angeles, the election of the new president. We're all feeling really heavy and kind of down right now, but it's still important that we try to find some ways of having hope and fun and optimism. In my case, I've been worried about climate change for years, and I didn't know what to do about it. So in 2009, I had a conversation with a friend in Ashland, Oregon, trying to mull over what to do with my life. And my friend really pressed me. She said, Brian, what do you really want to do? And I made this flippant comment. I said, okay, fine. If I could do anything, I'd like to be the climate change comedian. And so my friend basically fell out of her chair laughing and said, well, I want you to grab the website domain, which I did. climatechangecomedian.com. And I use that website to this day to kind of blog and to kind of post about what I'm up to now and then. And I didn't know what to do with this title, so I started making some goofy videos with my mom and with my wife, Tanya, and with my dad. And the first one I made was called The Climate Change Comedian in the Pianist, which you can still find on YouTube. And that video and the others I made happened to catch the attention of Daniel Tosh and the TV show Tosh.0. So they flew my mom and I out to Los Angeles in April of 2016. And the show actually aired on August 2nd of 2016. And you can find it on YouTube if you search for Brian Ettling and Tosh.0 or Brian Ettling Climate Change Comedian. It's still on there. It was an amazing experience to do that. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I don't want to be a comedian. And I'm thinking, well, you can still have fun. I would still encourage folks to make friends with other folks in the chapter and get together with them and just get to know people. You don't even have to talk about climate. Just get together with folks and make connections here. And I did that years ago. Years ago, I made friends with Margaret Pemberton on the left and Ken Pitts on the right there. And I was actually the program leader back in 2018, and I wanted them to give a joint presentation giving presentation to students. And I did that, but I ended up becoming friends with the both of them. That I meet for Marvin every few months for lunch, and Ken and I and my wife Tanya and Ken's wife Catherine, we have dinner like once a month. And so make those friendships. I think it'll make a big difference of keeping yourself hopeful and having fun. And I think one of the tricks for me too, I've learned is that if you make friends with another climate reality leader, if they make friends with you, it's really hard for them to say no to you or you to say no to them when they need you to show up for an event or to be active in a climate reality event. So yeah, so make those friendships, make those connections. My second tip I want to share with you is with my friend Greg Camera, who's a climate reality leader. I heard him say this back in 2017 on a YouTube video. He was talking about the People's Climate March, and he said towards the end of his quote, he said, "For climate action, do you know who your elected representatives are? Wait, better yet, do they know who you are?" And you can no longer find the YouTube video, but I blogged about it on my own website, the best climate advice I ever received. And I've taken his advice to heart since then, that I've been writing our members of Congress and legislators to the extent that our previous member of Congress here in Portland, Earl Blumenauer, knew who I was. He told his staff one time that he'd read my letter about taking climate action. He read my letter on one of his flights from Washington, D.C. to Portland. Maxine Dexter, the current representative of U.S. member of Congress for the 3rd District, I helped with a climate forum last April that was put on by Citizens Climate Lobby, but I've been lobbying her for years when she was a state legislator, so she knows who I am. I've also gotten to know my state senator, Kesa Jama. I've known him for years, and my state representative, Andrea Valderrama. And my state senator, my state rep have told me that they really do take my views into consideration when they're trying to decide which climate and environmental bills to support. And they do listen to like OLCV, they listen to their fellow legislators, but they say that they really do pay attention to what I'm urging them to support also. My next bit of advice my third tip comes from Al Gore himself. And he said this back in a TED Talk back in March of 2008. He said, in order to solve the climate crisis, we have to solve the democracy crisis. And it's from a 2008 TED Talk that I highly recommend looking up. And so, yeah, I think democracy, it's a big concern for me. So for the last 4 years, pretty much since January 6th, before every election now, I've been knocking on my neighbors' doors, knocking in doors in the neighborhood, trying to have those hard conversations with folks about the importance of voting and the importance of voting for candidates that are strong on the environment. I first started canvassing back in 2018 when Washington State had a carbon pricing initiative on their ballot. It didn't win, but it was great to talk to voters in Vancouver, Washington about the importance of climate and voting for climate. And this election, I actually was paid by East County Rising, a local progressive organization, to urge voters in the Gresham and East Portland area to support a slate of candidates that were strong on the environment. And I love canvassing because one of the perks of canvassing is that you do get friendly cats now and then. I had a number of friendly cats that would come up to me and wondering what the heck was I doing. So if you talk to your friends and neighbors, you never know, you might get a friendly cat. So my thing now is that the legislature's back in session, and in December, I met with my state representative, Andrea Valderrama, and my friend Catherine Thomason is in between me and my representative. She's actually on the MCAT. That's another group I support, the Metro Climate Action Team. They're really active in lobbying the legislator. And to the right is Abigail on Andrea Valderrama's staff. So they know who I am. And so when I'm with them and urging them to support the bills that OLCV and MCAT's supporting, OLCV is Oregon League of Conservation Voters, they really do pay attention to what I'm urging them to support. And I also support, this photo was taken a year ago in Salem, lobbying my state senator, Kesa Jama. And I'll be going back there on February 4th. Diverse Oregon has a lobby day, and I'll be going back there several more times for lobby days. I really encourage folks to get involved with the legislative committee and talk to Amanda about that. And so I've lobbied numerous times in Salem. I'll be doing that this session coming up that goes from January to the end of June. I've also gone to Washington, D.C. I've lobbied their 9 congressional offices over the past 10 years. And I even had the pleasure back in 2016, November 2016, I gave a climate presentation in Ottawa, Canada, and I got to lobby members of parliament up there too. So it's been quite a journey for me, and I'm hoping to still do more lobbying in the future. So again, my 3 lessons I've learned as a climate reality leader: have fun, don't take yourself too seriously. Make sure your elected officials know who you are and that passing climate bills is top priority for you. And 3, my numbering got messed up here, it looks like. In order to solve the climate crisis, we have to solve the democracy crisis. And I think if we do all those things, I am convinced that we will change the world. And that's it. Let me get off my stop share here.
Oh, thank you so much, Brian. You are quite inspiring.